Hello, everyone. Hi. It's awesome to see everyone coming in, and what a great occasion that Ignite brings all the Microsoft products together. And this session is about bringing Skype for Business and Office together. Really, when I thought about the idea of this session, three things came to mind that initiated us to come together. The first thing was we wanted to showcase how the integration between Skype for Business and the other Office products, especially Outlook, works today. And then answer questions from you about if you have any questions on the current integration experience. Both myself and Gabe, I'm an embedded developer within the Skype organization, and my friend Gabe is just me from Outlook. So between two of us, we should be able to answer most of your Office integration questions. Secondly, unlike majority of the sessions over here that cover the future roadmap and the vision, this session is really about what we already have. But what we see is that within support, we get a lot of issues, and some of the issues really come down to these issues are already resolved in the latest update, right? And so this is just like an opportunity for us to kind of show you, what issues have already been addressed. Thirdly, troubleshooting of Skype for Business and Office integration scenarios is not really a trivial task, and as we will see in the slides. And so we wanted to share with you an overall troubleshooting approach that we generally use in escalations, and that has worked pretty well. We'll give you some examples of how we have used each troubleshooting approach to our troubleshooting approach to solve certain problems. One thing my friend Gabe reminds me all the time is keep it interactive. You can come to the we won't mind any questions during the session itself. As you see things, feel free to raise your questions. And so just to set the context before we start the session, how many of the folks here, IT pros or business pros, are actually working with end users that are deployed in the cloud? Okay, about 20-30%. Okay, the session, the reason I asked the question is the session is more about the client-side interactions. We will have some amount of client-server interaction, but generally we are looking at the client piece here. Second, as Satya mentioned in his keynote, the next level of transformation in businesses will come from our products working together. So when a lot of sessions over here have looked at the first part of the Office 365 experience. What we consider Skype is the second part of the experience, right? Where Skype is the communication tool that really tries to connect the people and the applications that they are most used to working on. And the third part of the context is Skype for Business UI update came in as a feature, right, for Link 2013. And so basically the feature could be enabled, disabled using a policy that we have. And there is a lot of information available on that through blogs.office.com. So this session is not going to cover a lot about how to do the update for Skype for Business or what does that entail. But this is like, once you're already updated, this is the experience. And Gabe would like to share a little bit about the Office 16 preview, that just some recent things that he has come to know about, and he'll introduce himself.
Okay, yes, my name's Gabe Bratton. I'm a supportability PM with Outlook. I work in between support and the product team to identify the top issues and top problems that our customers see, working with different listening channels such as MVPs, community, field, just anywhere that we can get data to help drive and improve the product. I got the experience yesterday working in the setup booth. So one of the things that I saw was a little bit of confusion because when you go to that booth, there's two options to be able to install the Office 16. You can either, on the preview page, there's a download link for Office Home Preview. And if you already have Office 2013 installed, then in some cases it will remove it. So there's two distribution channels for Office. There's click to run, which is most likely what you'll get if you get the subscription. And then there's MSI, which is more traditional for on-prem. You can get through MSDN and volume license and so forth. So if you have click to run on the machine already, so I saw this. So people had Office 2013 click to run, Skype for Business already installed. They installed the Office Home, and that automatically installed their Office 2013 click to run that had Skype for Business, and now they have Office 16 without Skype for Business. So it's just something to be aware of. So if you have click to run Office, the Office 16 that's coming down is click to run by default. So you can't have click to run side by side. Click to run will only work when you install it, or side by side scenario will only work if you have MSI already installed. And then you install the click to run Office 2016 preview. So if you happen to go by there tomorrow or later today to install Office 16, one way to tell if you have click to run is go to just File Office account. And if you see updates available and you can click the drop down and say update now, then you have click to run. If it doesn't let you interact with it, then you have MSI. And then the other thing I was going to mention is when you install the Office 2016 preview, on the bottom of that page, they should have put them side by side, the home and the business. If your business install of Office, then you'll have to go into the portal, portal.office.com, and install from there rather than trying to download the home preview directly. So it's just something I want to mention. If I cause any confusion with that, just please ask me any questions. Sorry.
So you're from support, so these things will be top of mind. Just a little bit about me. I have been working in the telecom industry for about 10 years, have worked in different areas of telecom engineering, whether it be systems engineering, system testing, dev and design, and currently I'm an embedded developer, so I work with the product teams directly and help fix bugs in the product that we come across, and also identify some of the things that really need to be addressed in the next update. Yeah, that's a picture of my daughter, 2.5-year-old, and just the photography that we enjoy as a father-daughter activity. So coming to the session, there are 3 key areas that we want to cover with the session. The first part is why, which is what are the key improvements, what are some of the key improvements that have come in Office 2013 with Skype for Business integration. Secondly, the what. So basically how it will look at a real world situation, right? So we will look at a real world scenario, and basically I'll try to demo how these integration features actually light up in a real situation. In the how part, we want to look at a troubleshooting methodology, right? How to handle any Office integration issues that come up. So, and the key takeaway here is that, once you guys are back from Ignite and you got some rest and you're interacting with your end users, you will be able to explain them the why for Office 2013 and Skype for Business, and you'll be able to kind of demonstrate to them some of the features that would be very useful to them. At the same time, if they run into any issues, you will have a troubleshooting approach at hand, which will help you kind of get through those hiccups. So let's get started on the first key improvement. In 2010, we did not have a shared OneNote experience from the meeting. So basically, you can see that the only options we had were PowerPoint. What this created a gap in was, in a pre-meeting experience, you did not know basically that going into a meeting there would be notes, there would be agenda and stuff. So basically, there was no pre-meeting experience for both the scheduler and for the attendees. In meeting itself, people used to have problems with the screen space, where they are either using something else to take notes, or they're just kind of using another app where it's taking part of the screen. So the whole in-meeting experience with respect to taking notes was quite inconsistent. Post-meeting, we did not know who attended the meeting. We did not have any idea about the artifacts that were used in the meeting, like PowerPoint or maybe whiteboard that was used for polling. when those artifacts were not available. 2013, we added a feature for OneNote integration, which provides all three parts. Basically, one, in the pre-meeting experience, you can actually share the OneNote when you're scheduling the meeting, so that the person who's actually invited to the meeting has a context of the meeting, and he already knows what are the topics to be discussed. During the meeting, both of you guys could co-author the notes and co-author the action items. After the meeting gets over, there is no inconsistency with respect to kind of what you remember is what you put, or if there is some transcription software you're using, then you don't have the right consistent transcription. So basically, afterward, we have a post-meeting experience as well, where all the attendees will be listed, and also all basically any follow-up will be covered as well. Any other artifacts will also be saved, like whiteboards and PowerPoint experiences. So when we the real world situation that we are going to take is that there are two colleagues, Premal and Greg, and basically they both meet each other, say twice every week. Generally, the agenda for their meeting is that they will discuss certain issues or roadblocks that each of them have had during the time period, and then they would want to get each other's input, right, on that. Sometimes, based on the discussion, they would have certain action items, and so they would want to document that as well. And lastly, they might have a PowerPoint presentation sometimes on which they each want an input. So to achieve these objectives, let me switch over and actually show you. Sorry about that. So here's Outlook for Premal and basically his Skype client. And as you can see, within Outlook, we can have a Skype meeting set up, and Premal can invite Greg. At the same time, the meeting notes, shared notes can be set up for the meeting, and as you will see that the shared notes actually become part of the meeting itself. The other thing is meeting options could be set up, basically, where who are the presenters and all could be set up. And Premal can send the meeting to Greg. The meeting also shows up within Skype itself. And within the meeting, I can actually click on the view meeting notes and actually add action items, add particular issues that need to be discussed. At the same time, my friend Greg, who also has received the invite, he can add issues as well. as you can see, the 3 and 4 are added. So that way, basically, the issues come together, and both are co-authoring the OneNote together. And this. So those show the pre-meeting, post-meeting, and the in-meeting experiences there with OneNote. The next point is that once you are within Outlook, and if I wanted to just message, if Greg wanted to just message me, he would be able to do it from within Outlook itself. So you can see that without changing the application from Outlook itself, IAMs could be opened directly. All this gets enabled through the presence, and everything in Outlook gets enabled through options that are available in Skype. So you can see the personal information manager needs to be selected as Microsoft Exchange or Outlook, and update presence and save IAM in conversations, call logs. All this is information that Greg and Premal actually have logged in Outlook, and so that makes it very easy for them to just look at Outlook and come up with the topics that they want to discuss in the meeting. Similarly, within if they were to share a PowerPoint, they would have sharing experience within PowerPoint, where they can either send by instant message or they could directly present online. So basically, whether they are in PowerPoint, whether they are in Outlook, they can have an in-meeting experience. So that's just to give a little idea about that. And so as you saw, one of the things that I did was I initiated an IAM directly from Outlook. And so let's now go. We actually encountered some issues in this integration of sending IAM message directly from an application. And I'll just take you through the whole story of how basically we troubleshoot the approach, right? And so there are 4 parts to this troubleshooting methodology that we have. So the first part is deployment. So one thing that we look at when an issue is reported to us is this a supported deployment, right? The second part we look at is basically, are there enough logs available for us to dig in and find out what could be a potential issue? Third thing we look at is basically the policies that are associated with integration. There are certain policies that could be disabled, which could cause a problem. And the fourth point is we look at the interaction, or we look at the design of the entire architecture to see if there are API calls happening between the applications which are potentially causing a problem. So let's start with the first one. The first one is really about the supportability. So when we take a particular scenario like IAM, being able to IAM from Outlook, we really have to look at it from the lens of devices and services, right? So which particular device was the customer using when he was trying to do that, and which particular service was he on? So if he is on Exchange online but link on-prem, then we have a supportability matrix that we have published, where we explicitly say which scenarios would be supported in a particular deployment setup. Also, the device part plays an important role, and when I say device, what I really mean is that the Office installation, right? Whether it's an Office on desktop, Office 2010, Office 2013, whether it's a mobile app that you're looking at. So that's the first thing kind of we try to narrow down at, that what's the exact scenario across the device and the service. The second thing we look at, this is another example where it's link on-prem, and we don't have Office web apps server setup, and so the customer complains that they can't share a PowerPoint when it's actually really expected in that deployment. Examining event logs. Gabe will later share a particular story where event logs actually help us uncover a major trending issue, one of the top support issues actually. And
what's the scenario?
Gabe, over to you.
Yeah, okay. So in troubleshooting link issues and Outlook issues, and probably Office as a whole, one of the key things that we look for, for investigating issues is looking at the application event log. In March, and some of you may have hit this, but in the March, after we released the March public update for Outlook 2010, there was a regression that caused Link to crash. And this came about because in the March public update for Outlook 2010, we first enabled a new protocol, MAPI over HTTP, which will replace RPC over HTTP. We immediately found the regression, through forum reports. And one of the things I did want to mention actually is something that would help us greatly is, if you start to see a crash, whether it's Outlook or Link, however we cause it, one of the things I do for Outlook is I monitor forums whenever we release updates, especially. If you see crashing happening, if you go into the application event log, copy out the details for the application event and post that into the forums. And then I'm able to take the faulting application and module and exception code and then plug that into internal solution that we have called Watson. And that will enable me to track how many people are hitting this particular issue and helps us also assess how quickly we need to take action, whether it's revert the update, pull the update, or in this case what we did was we disabled MAPI HTTP in the Office 365 service. And that actually caused another bug. Online archives broke. Both bugs are fixed in the April public update. But the main thing I wanted to get across was, application event logs are one of the most important resources for us to use. I also want to mention too, I think a lot of you already know this, but in the past we used to have cumulative updates. So you would see us release public updates, and those were pushed through Microsoft Update, and we would have cumulative updates, and those would be available on the Download Center. And the cumulative updates often had fixes that weren't fully, they weren't as, I would say, as regression tested as the public updates. Well, the product team, as of February, stopped doing the cumulative updates. So what you'll see going forward is the second Tuesday of every month, we will release public updates for Office. And those public updates go via the two distribution technologies I mentioned earlier. MSI, so MSI goes through Microsoft Update, and then Click to Run is pushed directly to the client, so you don't have to do anything. In fact, you'll get a little notification saying you need to restart Office or restart your application for the update to happen. So those are the two main distributions. The one thing I would just say, especially seeing all of the top issues in Office 365, whether it's Link or Outlook, is make sure you have Microsoft Update enabled, because that's how we're able to get the updates pushed out for your clients. And I would say one of the main reasons we see problems in the service is that the clients are not up to date. And if you stay on top of it, you'll say, well, I would have got the crash. Well, no, because when we release the updates every Tuesday or second Tuesday, we throttle the updates. So we only maybe do 1% monitor, are things okay, and then we'll continue to ramp up the release as things seem to like they're going well. And if they're not, then we'll take action to either pull the update or make the fix and re-push it back out, whatever the case is. I think that's the main things I want to get across, Primo.
Yep. Yeah. Excellent. Any questions so far? Sure.
It's simultaneous. There's a batch that goes out through Microsoft Update, and Office 365 subscription customers get it as well. What I've seen from our sustaining engineering is they'll generally push MSI a little bit harder than subscription, and then I would say they're about the same, but I would say from my experience they don't do click to run quite as fast.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, and I would just add, not that this is a good answer, but at least with MSI, if you're crashing right away, you can uninstall the update. With click to run, it's possible to do. There's a manual way to revert, but it's not as simple. So that's one of the, I would say, logical reasons why they would do it that way.
But from a cloud perspective, there's no changing or going back unless they get a huge customer forum that's having them send it back. If you're in with everybody else. That's kind of why I asked.
Yeah, I mean,
But it is throttled, right? As you said.
Yeah, it's throttled. Like click to run, they'll do 1% maybe that first week and monitor, and then if those customers start experiencing a problem, then they'll quickly evaluate: do we continue to push it out? And if they do hit the problem, I mean, we do have a command line feature that we can say revert to the previous build or the previous month's build as a workaround. And so, yeah, I mean. And that's something that we work through, pretty much I would say every month or two, there's something that, we have to react to in that way, just because the nature of shipping fixes and updates and so forth.
Excellent. Any other questions? The next piece is kind of expanding on the number 2 part of examining logs. There are other options as well. So basically, there are MSO logs, Outlook logs, and Office presence logs. I will share one of the cases where the Office presence log actually helped us identify that the default IM app was not linked on the machine, and it was one of the other apps, and actually it caused issues with seeing presence in Outlook. It caused issues with seeing presence everywhere. So basically, the Office presence logs kind of helped identify that the default app was not linked, and we could change it and solve the customer problem. So that's why kind of we are listing the event logs and examining logs as one of the second points in the troubleshooting approach. The other option I would like to say is, we would like to acknowledge is that the client side, there are ETL logs, but those logs are not convertible on the public side, and so they are not much helpful. We are kind of working to find a way around that we could make more of the logs available. So because on the mobile clients, we see that more logs. The key reason that these are not available is because of PII, right? That there is certain PII information, and we don't want to kind of disclose it out. There is very strict security. Basically, we go through a secure development life cycle, and that's one of the points that comes up, that don't log something that would show up any PII, or that log only things that you are absolutely sure will help you. So both are very difficult to justify. Number 3 is where there are a lot of client policies associated with Office integration, like the OneNote presence is one of them. The second one is another issue where the UI across all of Office applications is the same. So all of Office application uses the same underlying UI technology. What happened is when we released 2013, we started seeing some issues with the UI and the performance, and we found out that a lot of those customers that actually had those issues with the UI actually had hardware acceleration turned on. So basically, the policy helped us switching that off actually removed the issues that the customers were seeing with the UI. This was quite a top call generator during the first initial path of Link 2013 because some of the drivers were not yet updated. The other part is the Office, like the Skype for Business client policies, and similarly, I mentioned the Outlook profiles. The places where we do see issues are where folks have multiple profiles, or they have certain client policies that prevent contact aggregation within Skype for Business. So those are some things. That's why we mention it as one of the third points there. The number 4 is what I will go a little bit deeper into because this is where this is a scenario where all bets are off, kind of, where we are at no luck with all the 3 earlier methods. We have to look at how the product is actually designed, what are the protocols that Skype is using to talk to Outlook, or that Outlook is using to talk to Exchange. We have to understand the architecture, and we have to understand how the protocols work to actually reduce the issue down further. These protocols are generally encapsulated into APIs, so you don't really have to know all the protocols nitty-gritty details. As far as you can use API well, you should be able to scope the issue down, right? That whether it's an Outlook issue versus link issue versus, say, Excel issue. The APIs and the protocols should help with that. And that it just shows a snapshot of the two things. And in the notes, I have the exact links as well, where you can see Office protocols and the Office integration APIs. So that's that highlights actually, the key interfaces between our Office applications right now. As you can see that, Outlook and Skype talk on like two key APIs. Outlook talks to Skype for Business based on OCOM API, which is the link communicator API that you guys might be familiar with. So basically what happens is when Outlook tries to call into link to start an IM application, it's actually calling that API. And I'll show you guys a demo of the code that actually is executed for that. Similarly, when Skype for Business needs to interact with Outlook. Sure. We have a question. That's a great point. Actually, that's the third scenario that we will, I do have in the deck actually. Yeah. And so, similarly, SharePoint and OneNote also use OCOM API to actually call into Skype for Business. So this kind of knowledge is important because when you get into this kind of Office integration issue, if you don't know the boundaries of every application and how they talk to each other, and it brings you to a road stop, right? And within support, actually, we are very happy to help you, right? And we do want to solve your issues as quickly as possible, but not everybody gets up in the morning with the with the happiness of calling into support, right? So we do want to provide you the right tools so that if it is possible and if you are if you really want to solve it on your own, we will have the tools for you. Yes.
Could you go back one slide, if you don't mind?
Sure.
APIs, is that a publicly known API, or is that?
Yes, it is a publicly known API. It goes by the link by the name Link API. I think internally we call it OCOM, but it's Link API, and I will actually show you a demo of that.
So it's the client SDK then?
Yes, it is the client SDK.
Oh.
Yep.
So does it mean that the competitor product can also be used with this?
This is an API that's available for any of. If you write an application today that wants to use Skype. The Skype for Business client, then yes, you could. So the question was that could this API also be used by other applications to actually call into Skype for Business? The answer is yes. Yeah, it's a publicly available API that any other application can use, even our competitors. Yes.
So your competitors can directly talk to OneNote, Outlook, and SharePoint using the same API.
That is correct. For whatever APIs are available, yes. And anybody can write an application also, actually. If you guys have seen the other sessions that have gone on, Exchange REST APIs, AWS REST APIs are available for all, and same APIs will be available to Skype for Business as well. Similarly, this morning there was a session on OneNote APIs and REST APIs. So yes, those APIs. So the idea with the APIs is it helps you scope the problem down, basically. Because if you know that the problem happens at the API, like if you use the API and the problem happens, you have scoped the problem to that product, right? So that really helps in narrowing down the problems with these integration issues. So basically, as I said, right, the API, the protocols are generally encapsulated into APIs, and in support, we generally try to develop tools based on that. AWS Editor is a very good example of that. It's available on CodeFlow, and I will show you an example where I actually use AWS Editor and actually get contact information back to verify whether, I'll explain the entire scenario when we get to that. So let's go into a little bit of depth with the OCOM API. I'll just set up the demo, that way I can show you the code exactly. Yes.
And I'm in a scenario where that's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I put like the alias, I made sure that the SIP is an email alias, and there's also the disable email comparison chat.
You're right. It's the policy part, the number 2 in the troubleshooting section.
Is it just that is the clear-cut recommendation that if your SIP and email, primary email don't match, turn on disable the email check?
For now, yes, that's what we've been that's what we have. But we are actually trying. We are collecting a lot of feedback on this scenario because we see a lot of customers have that, especially things where companies integrate, right? Or there is a merger and acquisition scenarios generally have that thing. So we are actually consolidating feedback on that so that we could maybe improve that scenario better.
Yeah, we just have a lot of users that use different profiles for resource note, and we find that their conversation history is going into other boxes because of that switch.
Yeah, because the default is what is used, and so yeah, we see. We are definitely collecting feedback on that. Thank you so much for the question. Yeah.
So Premal, I'm not sure if everybody probably heard that. I mean, could you just quickly summarize the scenario?
Yes, the scenario is basically where two companies are merging or where certain users are using different email address and different SIP address. What happens is some of the integration scenarios don't work well, and our recommendation generally is to have both of them same. But if you cannot do that, then Robin just said helps out, where there is a policy which would disable the check for match, and it would enable some of the scenarios.
Yep, that's great. Thank you. And Robin, you get the last T-shirt.
Let me quickly show you the code that runs underneath. So let me open up the code sample here. And I apologize for the squeezed UI. What happened? I will have to, okay, sorry about that. Let me get back to this. I think my machine just shut down actually because of the battery. So let me continue the presentation and I can come back and show you that. Sorry about that. So this is the OCOM API, and I have a snapshot of the code in there just for you. I just wanted to run it and actually show it to you. So you can see over there that you can create a communicator or automation API object, and then you can actually begin conversation on that object, and this would actually flash the Skype UI right away. That's what I wanted to show you actually. So.
And your BitLocker.
So we can get back to it. I can actually show you the demo. The second key improvement that I wanted to go over is in 2010, it was a world without kind of a unified people experience. In today's world, people generally don't store contacts at the same place. The contacts are on the phone, the contacts are in LinkedIn, the contacts are in Facebook. I mean, there are contacts in Outlook and there are contacts in Link. So it's spread out over internal and external networks basically. And in 2010, we were not able to consolidate the experience so that you have one single people card. So you can see over there as an example, I had different display names and I had different contact details in the two contact cards, and so the contact card in Outlook and Link are kind of different, right? Actually, even the photo experiences in this case are correct, but when we look at SharePoint, SharePoint used to have a different source for photos. So even the photo sources used to be different. So basically, we did great work in 2010 to bring the UIs on the same page. So the UI looks same, but the content within that it was not same. The other part also you can see is one of them has a member of a field, the other one does not. So there were inconsistencies in terms of data between the contact cards. And with 2013, yeah, as you can see that, what we do is we actually consolidate. We bring together all the information from internal and external networks onto one single card, which we call a people card. So the people card and the people concept was introduced in 2013. And this displays, the high resolution photo, the phone numbers, and all the modes of communication that are possible with that contact. The other thing that it does good is that you can manage your contacts very, very easily from the same place. Like you add your contacts and then the consolidation takes place. When end users actually pull up a contact, they have this single contact card and they have all the modalities available within that. Sure.
So a problem that we have around this is, people have historically recorded their contacts in Outlook.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have like Ryan, have his phone number as phone number 1, and another Ryan as phone number 2, and all that stuff. So you go search for Ryan, you'll see 3 or 4 different contact cards.
Right.
I believe the email address that's in those contacts is what you guys utilize to say, hey, these are the same person. That's correct?
That is one of the key criteria actually. The thing is, in some cases we also consolidate phone numbers, but currently we don't do that great.
So like if I had Ryan phone number 1, email address 1.
Yes.
Ryan phone number 2, email address the same as this guy. Link would say, hey, these 2 people, these 2 unique contacts are in fact the same physical person, and would aggregate it together, right?
That is correct. And basically, it's not exactly Link that does that, but we have a shared library, and I will also show you how to run code on that library to see the results of an aggregation. So what did it involve? Link 2010 to 2013. As you can see, we gave options in buddy list management. So if you know, in 2013 we have an option. You could use Link as your store for contacts, or you could use UCS, which is based on Exchange, as your store contact. In terms of unified favorites, if you look in Outlook or you look in Link, you will see the same list of favorite contacts. Photo aggregation. Photo used to have a lot of sources. AD. It could be from AD. It could be from basically social media like Facebook or LinkedIn. It could also be a high resolution photo saved in Exchange. So there were several sources, and we've kind of worked on aggregation for that as well, so that there is one photo across, whether you go to SharePoint site or whether you go to Outlook or Link, you'll see the same photo. People search, again we have two options there, where basically we could either use MSO based search, or we could use link based search. The preferred is MSO based search, which does the aggregation of everything. In terms of people card, people aggregation, contact linking, let me show you some details on that. This is a question that we see a lot on forums, in support cases, all over the place, right? People want to know what are the sources of a contact card. So this diagram actually kind of gives an idea about what are the different sources. You can see that AD is a prominent source, Exchange is a prominent source. The key part that you want to take from this is, from Link's perspective, the key thing that Link adds to the contact experience is federated contacts. Information comes from Link, and then presence information all comes from Link. So, but these are all the different sources that we use. In terms of the design or the internal details, you can see over here that on the right we have Exchange and Link servers, and you can see that the component that I was talking about that does aggregation, which is MSO.dll. So Outlook and Link both provide their information into that particular API, and they get the aggregated information back from there. The key point here is, again, that Exchange actually is the common store there. And as far as Exchange 2013 is used, both Link and Outlook could use the same store, and in that case, MSO would not have to even do the aggregation, and the experience would be way more better actually. Any questions? So in case of Exchange 2010, if you see over here, basically MSO would have to do the aggregation because both Link and Outlook cannot use the same contact store. UCS is not available with Exchange 2013. So let me actually, I think I have my machine finally up. I've been trying to manage 2-3 machines here, so bear with me there. So this is the first demo that I wanted to show you guys, where the code that I just shared. You can see over here that we can get from the Link client the get automation. We can call get automation and get an instance. And some of you were asking about references. So this is the, as you can see, the Microsoft.link.model reference actually gets installed when you install the Link API, and that's what this is using. So if you so if I run this, I could specify. So you are seeing this is Greg, and I'm going to add. So if I say instant message and call, you will see that brings up the contact, and you can send an IM. I can actually send. All the network, huh? Blame it on the network. Let me. Okay, I got the name wrong. Sorry about that. SFBMD. So let's add that. Let's. Yep. And as you can see, SFB is not a valid user, but SFBMD is. And on my other screen, I got the message, and I'm replying to that. So you can see that this is actually API code that is the same as what Outlook, or for that matter Excel, would call when you would see a contact and you would like to IM them. So what this helped us with is we had a certain scenario in which file transfer was not working correctly, and we were able to quickly reduce or scope the issue down to the API and not Word that was actually exhibiting the problem. So it helps reduce the problem domain down, and when you come to support with the reduced problem domain or this, it becomes very easy interaction, right? You don't have to go ping pong between the teams who are trying to figure out. But generally, we use this approach very frequently, that we can quickly scope the problem down for you and get a resolution. And in the same place, actually, I can let me move ahead here, and I'll show you the next demo as well. So again, back to the troubleshooting approach. Now the second scenario of contact aggregation, and how do you troubleshoot a scenario like contact aggregation. Oh, sorry, I have to switch. So the troubleshooting approach remains the same. We still follow the methodology that, okay, contact aggregation, the questions we would ask is, are you using Exchange 2010, because that changes the equation? Are you using Outlook 2010 with Link 2013, which is a combination that we see customers doing? And in those cases, the aggregation results are not perfect because basically the code assumes certain things from Office 2013, and so it works a little differently. So that's one of the questions we generally ask from the deployment perspective. The other question around logs, again, we have the same set of logs around event logs. We don't have specific logs for contact aggregation, and so that makes it a little bit difficult to actually, kind of debug those issues. But I will show you how we use the API to actually help in those cases. Policies. Going back to the key interfaces. Now, the interface now we are talking about is the Skype for Business to Outlook, which is the opposite direction of what we just saw. MSO is basically, as we showed earlier, it's a search aggregator, right? So it's aggregating, it searches these contacts and groups and kind of, brings it all together. There is certain algorithm that is used based on, which particular element you're looking at, maybe display name or phone number, and which particular source gets the preference out of all the sources. Currently, we haven't disclosed that, the whole logic of which one takes precedence, but we are working on it where we can actually share that information since it's been a pretty frequent question. Basically, this is another example where we actually got down to the API or the software architecture level to find out where the problem lies when a particular contact is not showing up correctly. As you can see, basically EWS provides a find people API, and basically we use that SOAP request and send it to Exchange, and we get a response back which actually shows us that both the Greg contacts have been aggregated as one person. And let me just quickly show you that here.
Yes, question in the back.
So that's a very good question there. The thing is, the mobile client uses EWS, and basically the mobile client first talks to UCVA, if you're familiar with the web access APIs. So it actually sends a find people request to UCVA, and UCVA actually sends it down to Exchange, and we get the information that way, which is what I'm. So basically, in the mobile scenario case, we do expect the aggregation to happen at the exchange side, and sometimes it might not happen because if Exchange is not 2013 and it's not doing that, then you might see multiple contacts actually on the mobile side because we don't have an MSO equivalent on the mobile phones. Yeah. When, as you've seen, the sessions that have gone, and I've also attended some of those, that as we are coming up with these REST APIs and for EWS, things will get easier. And we already have these, like this EWS API that, so I'm using EWS editor, and as you can see, let me just quickly run this. So this is the find people request, and you can see in the response, you can see the persona ID, and you can see that the email address, Greg does have two names over here, Greg Mahan and M. Greg. So basically, you can see from Exchange side that Exchange actually did integrate the two contacts, and it did come up with a single display name, and you can see the person object there. So you can verify certain things when you are running into issues that, oh, why does this contact not show up correctly? You could run the EWS editor, and you can run the particular SOAP request, and it will give you the results. So that can help you. And that's generally what we have also used in support to actually find out certain aggregation issues. Switching back. So some of the common troubleshooting steps that, the contact side, I mean, the first one, as you are seeing, the first question we generally ask is which field is not showing correctly, right? Is it phone numbers? Is it email address? Is it display name? I mean, which is the parameter that you are concerned about? Secondly, as I told you, we ask about the deployment option, that what is the version you are using, you know, if it is Link 2013 with Outlook 2010, the phone number, some phone-only contacts, actually, we are currently working on an issue right now where certain phone-only contacts, we don't see all the phone numbers. We see one phone number or two phone numbers, and we are actively working on that issue right now. So phone number aggregation when using Outlook 2010. So generally, I think the recommendation I would give is if you are an enterprise voice customer, right, and you're using all the enterprise voice features, your users can call phone numbers, you should strongly consider that you use full Office 2013 suite so that the phone number aggregations and everything is working perfectly. Contact list provider, we generally ask for a contact list provider because UCS, though for on-prem it is enabled by default, in online we found out that the Mac client and the Link 2010 clients actually cannot modify the contact list once you move to UCS. So there is certain limitations with UCS, because of which we have seen a lot of customers move back from UCS to Link server. Even in the online side, we've made some changes. So generally, we always ask for the contact list provider, that what you are using, UCS or this, and that helps us narrow down in the troubleshooting approach where we should concentrate. Another thing that we check for is contact search, right? There are two options in contact search as well, web service and GAL search. And in online, web search is enabled by default, and web search is what is used. For on-prem, a lot of customers are used to GAL, and they like to use the GAL because it's one of the factors that decides between the two is normalization of numbers. Some users use normalization of numbers, and the address book web service currently doesn't have that functionality, so that brings them back to GAL. But knowing between GAL and web search actually helps kind of determine what could be the contact card problem. So that's another question we generally ask. We have seen some cases that there are stale contacts in OAuth. So when you look at a particular contact and the links that are there, some contacts are stale, and the exact root cause for that has not been identified, but some of them, sometimes we do see stale contacts in OAuth, and kind of deleting them actually clears up and gives a better aggregation of contacts. So that's something to look for. The last question is something that comes up because, as I said, the MSO aggregation logic, which came up in 2013, actually is not currently used in the modern app that we have. So the modern app actually does not use the MSO search. It actually uses whatever was used in Link 2010. So sometimes just comparing between the two kind of gives you an idea if MSO is playing a role into the issue. So that's why the last question there. Gabe wanted to cover a few other contact issues that we have seen in Outlook, and kind of what are the best ways to get around that.
So there was one contact issue that if you ever posted on Answers before, you'd appreciate that it caused a 30-page Answers forum thread that we investigated. And the issue was doing a people search in Outlook. So if you're in Outlook, on the top nav, you have search people. What customers would find is they would type in the name they're looking for, and there would be a larger list of nickname cache contacts that were appearing. If you double-clicked on it, it would say like just a phone number and a name, maybe at most, and it wasn't the full contact details. And we could never really figure out what the root cause was behind it. We think, well, maybe an AD migration or some other thing happened behind the scenes that caused the MUID ID to get corrupted. So what we ended up doing was just here in the last, in March, we shipped a registry key that you can set for Outlook that will tell Outlook not to return nickname cache entries in the search. So you will eventually hear about this issue because I've heard about it so much from customers. So I just wanted you to be aware that this feature is now available, and the KB article has been published to document the registry key.
So is that available for 2010 at all?
This only works in Outlook 2013.
So just kind of curious, how many how many people amongst here have end users that are using Outlook 2010 or Office 2010 and not 2013? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. No, we hope that the why and the what that we have covered here will help you kind of have a conversation with those end users and kind of help them see what benefits they can have.
Oh, it's not the end users, the problem.
Yeah.
So what's the problem? That's
It's just sort of management, entire divisions.
you were saying something else?
Yeah, I was saying like we're still following N-2 criteria in that case, right? So why you guys don't consider when you roll out things what is going to be supported as well?
No, we definitely. So Outlook 2010 is absolutely supported with this integration scenarios. What we have highlighted is just certain scenarios where we've seen problems. That's why we say that. And as you could see in the why, right, there are some really great improvements like following the trends, right? People don't store contacts in one place like Outlook like before, right? Things have changed. The world has been changing around us. So that's that feature was specifically introduced for that, right? So that experience gets better. The person has one place to get an aggregated information. Similarly, if you saw the OneNote experience, right? Like it's just basically the tool is being is transforming with what the requirements of the end users are, and that's why we believe that if you get there, then it will be a better experience, basically.
So one thing I would like to say on the previous slide, there are some unknowns that you guys are still investigating the behavior. It would be great if you can publish like a table after those things are identified. So we know clearly what is supported, what is not supported, and what to expect. So we can make the case of upgrading to newer version of Outlook or expedite the effort.
That's a great point. So you are referring to this particular this one, right?
One before. There you go.
Oh, okay. Over here. So as I told you, right, there is this particular scenario around phone numbers comes up for enterprise voice customers, and it's not that we don't show up the phone numbers. We show up the phone numbers, but they don't show up in the call drop-down menu sometimes, and so that's why but we can definitely consider what you're saying, that even if there are certain issues that are in transit right now, why don't we already share it with you guys that I'm not trying to defend here, but the thing is sometimes when issues don't reproduce consistently, it would be a wrong false alarm for you guys, right? If we just put out something there and tell you that this will not work. So we try to when we get to a point where we are quite sure under what circumstances it is happening, we do a KB and actually sometimes tell you that there is no solution for it. There are examples like that where we will say that there is no solution currently, we are still working on it. And that's a great feedback. So we will continue to do that actually, because there is some level of resistance sometimes that happens, and we definitely want to err on the side of being open and honest with the customer.
Another question in front.
Sure.
There was an update pushed out last month that Link 2013 was updated to Skype Business 2015, and we turned off the UI on the server side, so when we click on the icon, it brings up the Link 2013 client, but the icon still says the Skype.
This is a
Repeat the question, Pramal.
The question is that even if you set the registry key on the even if you set the group policy to disable Skype UI, you still see that the Outlook add-in shows Skype meeting.
Even the link icon says the Skype. Yeah, and attached.
Right. Yeah. That. Right. So there are some changes coming which will actually kind of at least provide tooltip text that will show what the thing is. The icon itself, we have received a lot of feedback and it's under discussion. I mean, we don't have a date exactly, but we are very well aware of the problem that the registry key is not doing the entire job.
I liked it because it forced our company just to go with the new UI because the icon.
Oh, that's great.
That was not the intention, but if that happens.
You guys just wanted to force the rewrite.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is for the gentleman there who was asking about delegation scenarios. And so the delegation is another scenario in which we do end up with problems sometimes. Most of the times what we have found is either the settings are not done correctly within the UI. The other part that we've seen is again, it follows the same logic there, where Skype for Business is using MAPI to get to that delegate information. And we generally want, this is one of the key troubleshooting steps there, that you want to verify that this information is synced into Exchange. Even though Outlook is showing that, let's make sure that it is synced into Exchange. And there are the above one is the portal site, where it shows the delegates whether they have been set or not. On the below side is MFC MAPI, which you can use to actually get the delegate information and verify that the delegates are actually set correctly. So those are two methods kind of we use there. The bottom tool is MFC MAPI. Yeah, and I.
You don't have like any looks into Exchange to kind of look at this kind of stuff. How can we, as like a desktop person, troubleshoot this?
MFC maybe runs on your desktop.
Yeah, MFC MAPI runs on. Yeah, MFC. Yep. Yeah. So, any other questions?
So yeah, just to clarify, MFC MAPI is something you install locally on your client to integrate with Outlook.
Yep. Yeah.
It'll show you all the information.
Yes, that's a disclaimer. It's a very powerful tool. Don't delete anything.
Exactly. Yes. Be very careful.
Well, with all of the API and the tool information that I gave here is all like is pretty much the last resort things, right? After like all other options have gone out the window. And these are pretty much tools that we use at the escalation level to actually troubleshoot and scope issue. The key motive of that is to scope the issue, because when you have an Office integration issue, your key goal should be to at least narrow it down to one application, right? Because if you're saying all the applications are involved, then there is no start point. So this helps get to a start point.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It needs to be an expert, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Somebody that's
it
very
needs to be
confident in their abilities.
Yeah, somebody who's. I mean, as I said, support is very happy to help, and we want to solve your issues as quickly as possible. But at the same time, we don't want to be in a situation where we have not provided you the tools and the resources enough to troubleshoot on your own. So, I mean, that's one of the key goals of the session, actually. Not sure if we have questions. I didn't see any questions on Yammer before the session, but yeah, any other questions here? We'll be happy to take.
EWS editor you showed, that could be used to check out on EWS configuration, or if it's working, not working, for mobile phones or whatever EWS provides information to link.
That is correct. Yes, I mean you have to know the exact APIs to use, and you have to use the right SOAP request, right? So for some of the things are available by default in EWS editor. Something like find people is not available by default. So the way that I showed it, calendar items I think are available directly. So you don't have to execute like specific things. But yeah, for find people, which is like a new feature in this, you have to use the SOAP request, the way I showed.
So Premal, would you repeat the question in case they recorded?
Yeah, the question was that can we use EWS editor, the way it was shown in the presentation, to actually see other information like calendars, which with the mobile phones could be using? And the answer is yes. The specific example that we discussed here was about find people, which is not available directly in EWS. So you have to use a SOAP request the way I did.
Question in the back?
That's
and repeat the question, Premal.
The question is that some of the blogs are showing that Link uses EWS, whereas today for the delegate scenario, I showed MAPI being used. So so the answer actually is that it depends on the scenario, right? So for certain scenarios like delegates, where EWS is not able to provide information, we will fall down to MAPI. But generally, for Exchange 2007 onwards, we use EWS for most of the other information that we need. But delegates, yeah, we use MAPI.
Is there documentation actually describing what functions, what API is used?
So what API is used for which scenario?
MAPI or whether it's using EWS?
There is there is some stuff available, but I think we can do a better job actually at clarifying some. The only thing is there is a lot of stuff involved with Exchange 2007, Exchange 2010, Exchange 2013, and at the same time Link versions changing. So it's almost like a matrix of, you have to look at all the communicator and all the Exchange versions, and then Outlook plays a part in that as well, because the mappy.dll comes from Outlook. So there are quite a few combinations, but yeah, no, great feedback. We'll keep it.
So, in the presentation, you kept talking about Link 2013 and Office 2013, didn't mention Exchange. So, is it safe to assume that Skype, or if I have a Office 2016, Link to, Skype for Business 2015, the newest version, and Exchange 2016, the features will be at least what you decided sort of today here, or more?
So basically, what I've heard from the Office 2016 team is that they have pretty much, this part of the code, the things that we have discussed here, they have not changed contact experience. They have kept it as it is, and unless there is a regression somewhere that they created while making the change, they have kept the experience the same.
So the question was about feature parity between Link 2013 and, well, Office 16 or Skype and Office 16, right?
Skype, Office 16, and Exchange 16.
Right, yeah. Well, it was Office 2013 and Exchange 2013, and Skype, it was Skype 2016 and Office, or Exchange 16, right? Yeah. Just making sure. Yay. Thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all coming.
Thank you.